Welcome to Amsterdam, the city of canals, bikes, and, wait, did that house just lean sideways? From hidden tunnels and floating cat sanctuaries to ancient stock markets and tilted buildings, Amsterdam is more than just tulips and coffee shops. In this video, we're diving into 10 mind-blowing facts about the Dutch capital that will make you see it in a whole new way. Whether you're planning a visit or just love curious trivia, you're in for a ride. So hop on your virtual bike and let's explore the wild, weird, and wonderful world of Amsterdam. 1. There are more bikes than people. Amsterdam is often called the bike capital of the world, and for good reason. There are actually more bicycles than people in the city. With a population of around 900,000, the city boasts over 880,000 bikes, and that number keeps growing. Cycling isn't just a mode of transportation here, it's a way of life. From suited professionals and school kids to parents carrying toddlers in front baskets, nearly everyone gets around on two wheels. In fact, over 60% of all trips in the city centre are made by bicycle. The infrastructure reflects this. There are hundreds of kilometers of bike lanes, special traffic lights just for bikes, and even multi-story bike parking garages near train stations. But with so many bikes, there are bound to be issues. Thousands of bicycles are stolen every year, and it's common for locals to own junk bikes they don't mind losing. On top of that, around 15,000 bicycles are fished out of the canals annually, victims of wind, vandalism, or poor parking decisions after a night out. Still, for Amsterdammers, the bike is king. It's cheap, fast, environmentally friendly, and in a city as compact and flat as Amsterdam, it just makes perfect sense. 2. Built on wooden poles. At first glance, Amsterdam's charming old houses seem to stand firmly along the canals, but beneath the surface, things get a lot more surprising. The entire city is actually built on a swamp, and to keep the buildings from sinking, early architects had to get creative. Their solution? Wooden poles, driven deep into the soggy ground until they reached a stable layer of sand. Even today, many of Amsterdam's historic buildings, including the Royal Palace on Dam Square, stand on thousands of these wooden stilts. The palace alone rests on 13,659 wooden poles. In the 17th century, logs were driven up to 12 meters deep, and because the groundwater keeps the wood submerged, the poles haven't rotted over centuries. But it's not always perfect over time. Shifts in the ground and unstable poles have caused many houses to lean slightly or warp, giving the city its famously crooked charm. Locals even have a nickname for these homes: dancing houses. Today, most modern buildings in Amsterdam are supported by concrete pilings, but the old wooden ones are still down there, silently holding up the past. So next time you're strolling along a canal and see a tilted house, remember, it's standing on a wooden skeleton, planted hundreds of years ago. 3. City of canals, more than Venice. When people think of canals, their minds often jump to Venice, but did you know that Amsterdam actually has more canals than Venice? With over 100 kilometers of waterways, around 1,500 bridges, and 90-plus islands, Amsterdam more than earns its nickname, the Venice of the North. The canals aren't just beautiful, they're a core part of the city's design. Back in the 17th century, during the Dutch Golden Age, Amsterdam created a concentric canal system called the Grachtengordel, Canal Belt. These canals were not only built for transport and trade, but also to control water levels and help with urban planning. The layout is so iconic, it's now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Today, the canals are lined with historic merchant houses, houseboats, cafes, and stunning views, but they also serve very practical purposes. They're used for tour boats, garbage collection boats, and even floating parades during events like Pride Amsterdam. And while the canals are picture-perfect, they've also become the accidental graveyard of thousands of bicycles, lost phones, and the occasional tourist mistake. But all that aside, they're still the city's beating heart, reflecting the past while flowing into the present. 4. The narrow houses. One of Amsterdam's most iconic sights is its row of tall, narrow, and often slightly leaning houses along the canals. But why are they so slim? The answer lies in a clever tax trick. Back in the 17th century, property taxes were calculated based on the width of a house's facade, not its height or depth. To avoid high taxes, residents started building as narrow as possible, sometimes only a few meters wide, and then extended their homes upward and backward. That's why many canal houses appear like vertical showboxes, tall, skinny, and stacked with steep staircases. Inside, space is often so tight that furniture can't fit through the door. The solution? Look up. You'll notice that most old houses have a hook at the top of the gable. These hooks are still used to hoist up furniture, pianos, and even refrigerators through the windows. And while some houses are beautifully maintained, others have started to lean forward or sideways over time. Either due to the shifting wooden foundations or their original sloped design, which was meant to prevent goods from hitting the facade when being hoisted. These quirky, charming buildings don't just make for great Instagram shots, they're a living reminder of how clever, and tax-savvy, the Dutch have always been. 5. Home of the world's first stock exchange. Believe it or not, the modern world of finance, with its stocks, shareholders, and speculation, all traces back to Amsterdam. In 1602, the city became the birthplace of the world's first official stock exchange, thanks to the creation of the Dutch East India Company, known as the VOC, Verenigde Oostindische Company. The VOC was the first company in history to issue public shares, allowing ordinary citizens to invest in overseas trade missions, primarily voyages to Asia in search of spices, silk, and other valuable goods. These shares could then be bought and sold at a central marketplace in Amsterdam, laying the foundation for what we now call the stock market. This revolutionary idea changed the world. It allowed for the pooling of capital, spread financial risk, and gave birth to the concepts of dividends, shareholder meetings, and corporate accountability. In short, it turned capitalism into a system anyone, with money, could participate in. Today, you can visit Beurs van Berlage, a historic building on Damrak where trading once took place. Though no longer a financial center, it stands as a monument to Amsterdam's legacy as a financial pioneer. So next time you check the stock market or scroll through crypto prices, remember, it all started on the cobblestones of 17th century Amsterdam. 6. The red light district has its own church. Yes, you read that right. Amsterdam's famous red light district is home to the city's oldest church, the Oude Kerk, or Old Church. Located right in the heart of De Wallen, this Gothic-style cathedral dates back to 1213 and has witnessed over 800 years of history, all while being surrounded today by neon lights and red-lit windows. This ironic placement isn't lost on locals or tourists. The juxtaposition of a sacred religious site and legalized sex work might seem shocking, but in true Dutch fashion, it reflects the country's long-standing values of tolerance, pragmatism, and coexistence. Historically, the church was a favorite spot for sailors and merchants, who would come to pray or confess before setting off, or right after a night of indulgence. Some would even carve messages or symbols into the church's wooden benches, many of which still survive. Today, Oude Kerk functions as a cultural venue, hosting art exhibitions, concerts, and installations, all while preserving its deep spiritual roots. It's a quiet, majestic escape in the middle of one of Amsterdam's loudest, liveliest neighborhoods. So yes, in Amsterdam, you really can go from sin to salvation in a matter of meters. Only here could that be completely normal. Stop. If you like this video, please give us a like, leave a comment behind, and don't forget to subscribe, since we have a new video every week. And now, let's roll back to the video. Where were we? Yes. 7. Tulips are not originally Dutch. When you think of the Netherlands, you probably picture windmills, wooden clogs, and fields of tulips. But here's a twist. Tulips aren't actually native to the Netherlands, they originally come from Central Asia, and were first cultivated in what is now Turkey. It wasn't until the 16th century that tulips made their way to Europe, and the Dutch quickly fell in love with them. Their unique colors and ability to bloom in the cold, damp climate made them a luxury item, and soon, tulips became a status symbol among the wealthy elite. This obsession led to one of the world's first major financial bubbles, tulip mania. In the 1630s, the price of tulip bulbs skyrocketed to absurd levels. Some bulbs were worth more than a house. At the peak of the craze, people were trading land, livestock, and fortunes just to get their hands on rare tulip varieties. But the bubble burst in 1637, leaving many in financial ruin. Despite the crash, the Dutch never stopped loving tulips. Today, they're a national symbol, and every spring, the country explodes in color with millions of blooming tulips, especially at places like Keukenhof Gardens and the famous flower markets of Amsterdam. So while the tulip may not be Dutch by origin, it has certainly become deeply rooted in the country's identity, both culturally and historically. 8. Legal prostitution and soft drugs. Amsterdam is famous worldwide for its liberal and progressive policies, especially when it comes to prostitution and cannabis. But the reality behind these laws is more nuanced than you might think. Prostitution in Amsterdam is legal and regulated within designated areas, most notably the red light district. Sex workers must register, undergo health checks, and work in safe, licensed brothels. This approach aims to protect workers' rights and reduce exploitation, rather than criminalizing the profession. Cannabis, meanwhile, is technically illegal in the Netherlands, but Amsterdam introduced the concept of gedoogbeleid, or tolerance policy. This means that licensed coffee shops can sell small amounts of cannabis to customers, and law enforcement generally doesn't prosecute these sales if they follow strict rules. This policy has made Amsterdam a hotspot for tourists seeking a relaxed experience. However, it's important to note that hard drugs remain illegal and strictly controlled, and the city balances tolerance with public safety. These policies reflect a uniquely Dutch attitude. Rather than trying to ban and punish, Amsterdam chooses harm reduction and regulation, aiming to create a safer, more open society for both locals and visitors. 9. Anne Frank's house. Nestled in the heart of Amsterdam's Jordaan district is one of the city's most poignant and visited landmarks, the Anne Frank house. This unassuming canal-side building is where Anne Frank and her family hid from Nazi persecution during World War II. From 1942 to 1944, Anne wrote her famous diary inside the secret annex, a hidden part of the house, documenting her fears, hopes, and experiences as a Jewish teenager living in hiding. Her diary has since become one of the most powerful personal accounts of the Holocaust, touching millions around the world. Today, the Anne Frank house is preserved as a museum, attracting over 1 million visitors annually. Walking through the rooms and seeing the original hiding place offers a deeply moving reminder of the human cost of war and the importance of tolerance and human rights. Despite the dark history, the museum also celebrates Anne's enduring spirit, hope, and belief in the goodness of people. A message that remains incredibly relevant today. 10. Cats of the Canal, the Pozenboot. Amsterdam is famous for its canals, but did you know it's also home to a floating cat sanctuary? Meet the Pozenboot, or the Cat Boat, a charming houseboat dedicated entirely to caring for stray and abandoned cats. Since 1966, the Pozenboot has been sailing the canals, providing shelter, medical care, and a loving home for dozens of felines. It's the world's only floating animal shelter, and it's a beloved local institution. Visitors are welcome to stop by and say hello to the cats, making it a unique and heartwarming stop in the city. Beyond sheltering cats, the Pozenboot also helps with adoption programs and raises awareness about animal welfare. So, if you ever find yourself wandering Amsterdam's waterways, keep an eye out for the Pozenboot, where cats truly rule the canals. And there you have it, 10 fascinating facts about Amsterdam that show just how unique and surprising this city really is. From wooden poles holding up centuries-old buildings to floating cat sanctuaries and the legacy of the world's first stock exchange, Amsterdam is a city full of stories waiting to be discovered. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you won't miss any of our future adventures. And if you've been to Amsterdam, or have a fun fact we missed, drop it in the comments below, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep exploring.